This is the Wikipedia page for Cinco de Mayo. Welcome to WikiListen, the podcast where we read Wikipedia pages and provide commentary. I'm Rachel Teichman, LMSW.
And I'm Victor Varnado, KSN.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
I actually don't know what Cinco de Mayo is about for real. Like if someone was like, hey, what's Cinco de Mayo about? I really don't know. So I'm excited to find out today.
Well, it's time to get educated. Cinco de Mayo, 5th of May redirects here. For the date, see May 5th, not to be confused with Mexican Independence Day, which occurs on September 16th. Cinco de Mayo, pronounced Cinco de Mayo in Mexico, Spanish for 5th of May, is an annual celebration held on May 5th, which commemorates the anniversary of Mexico's victory over the French Empire at the Battle of Puebla in 1862. Led by General Ignacio Zaragoza, the victory of a smaller, poorly equipped Mexican force against the larger and better armed French army was a morale boost for the Mexicans. Zaragoza died months after the battle from an illness, and a larger French force ultimately defeated the Mexican army at the Second Battle of Puebla and occupied Mexico City.
More popular in the United States than in Mexico, Cinco de Mayo has become associated with the celebration of Mexican-American culture. Celebrations began in California, where they have been observed annually since 1863. The day gained nationwide popularity in the 1980s due to advertising campaigns by beer, wine, and tequila companies. Today, Cinco de Mayo generates beer sales on par with the Super Bowl. In Mexico, the commemoration of the battle continues to be mostly ceremonial, such as through military parades or battle reenactments. The city of Puebla marks the event with various festivals and reenactments of the battle.
Cinco de Mayo is sometimes mistaken for Mexico's Independence Day, the most important national holiday in Mexico, which is celebrated on September 16th, commemorating the Cry of Dolores in 1810, which initiated the War of Mexican Independence from Spain. Cinco de Mayo has been referenced and featured in entertainment media and has become an increasingly global celebration of Mexican culture, cuisine, and heritage.
So basically, the world has misinterpreted Cinco de Mayo,
yes.
and that's it now. So it's like, it's out of the bag, it's loose, it's becoming its own thing. So
it's all in the name of capitalism.
What isn't? Background. Events leading to the Battle of Puebla. Cinco de Mayo has its roots in the Second French Intervention in Mexico, which took place in the aftermath of the 1846-48 Mexican-American War and the 1858-61 Reform War. The Reform War was a civil war that pitted liberals who believed in separation of church and state and freedom of religion against conservatives who favored a tight bond between the Catholic Church and the Mexican state. Wow, that's just like here in America.
Yep.
These wars nearly bankrupted the Mexican treasury. On July 17, 1861, Mexican President Benito Juarez issued a moratorium in which all foreign debt payments would be suspended for 2 years. In response, France, Britain, and Spain sent naval forces to Veracruz to demand reimbursement. Britain and Spain negotiated with Mexico and peacefully withdrew. But France, at the time ruled by Napoleon III, decided to use the opportunity to establish an empire in Mexico that would favor French interests, the Second Mexican Empire. The empire was part of an envisioned Latin America term used to imply cultural kinship of the region with France that would rebuild French influence in the American continent and exclude Anglophone American territories. Wow,
citation
that's how
needed.
Citation needed, but that's really Napoleon is kind of a jerk, but I get where he was going with this. He was like, this is just like a chessboard, even though it's people's lives.
Yep. French invasion and Mexican victory. Main article, Battle of Puebla. Late in 1861, a well-armed French fleet attacked Veracruz, landing a large French force and driving President Juarez and his government into retreat. Moving on from Veracruz toward Mexico City, the French army encountered heavy resistance from the Mexicans close to Puebla at the Mexican forts of Loreto and Guadalupe. The French army of 8,000 attacked the poorly equipped Mexican army of 4,000, on May 5, 1862. The Mexicans decisively defeated the French army. The victory represented a significant morale boost to the Mexican army and the Mexican people at large, and helped establish a sense of national unity and patriotism.
Events after the battle. The Mexican victory, however, was short-lived. A year later, with 30,000 troops, the French were able to defeat the Mexican army, capture Mexico City, and install Emperor Maximilian I as ruler of Mexico. The French victory was itself short-lived, lasting only 3 years, from 1864 to 1867. By 1865, with the American Civil War now over, the U.S. began to provide more political and military assistance to Mexico to expel the French. Upon the conclusion of the American Civil War, Napoleon III, facing a persistent Mexican guerrilla resistance, the threat of war with Prussia, and the prospect of a serious scrap with the United States, retreated from Mexico, starting in 1866. The Mexicans recaptured Mexico City, and Maximilian I was apprehended and executed, along with his Mexican generals, Miguel Miramon, Tomás Meja Camacho, in Cerro de las Campañas, Querétaro. On June 5, 1867, Benito Juárez entered Mexico City, where he installed a new government organizing his administration.
Significance. The Battle of Puebla was significant both nationally and internationally for several reasons. First, this battle was significant in that the 4,000 Mexican soldiers were greatly outnumbered by the well-equipped French army of 8,000 that had not been defeated for almost 50 years. Second, since the overall failed French intervention, some have argued that no country in the Americas has subsequently been invaded by any other military force from Europe. Historian Justo Sierra has suggested in his Political Evolution of the Mexican People that had Mexico not defeated the French in Puebla on May 5, 1862, France would have gone to the aid of the Confederate States of America in the American Civil War, and the United States' destiny could have been different.
History of the holiday. United States. According to a paper published by the UCLA Center for the Study of Latino Health and Culture about the origin of the observance of Cinco de Mayo in the United States, the modern American focus on that day first started in California in 1863 in response to the resistance to French rule in Mexico. Far up in the gold country town of Columbia, now Columbia State Park, Mexican miners were so overjoyed of the news that they spontaneously fired off rifle shots and fireworks, sang patriotic songs, and made impromptu speeches.
A 2007 UCLA newsroom article notes that the holiday, which has been celebrated in California continuously since 1863, is virtually ignored in Mexico. Time magazine reports that Cinco de Mayo started to come into vogue in 1940s America during the rise of the Chicano movement. The holiday crossed over from California into the rest of the United States in the 1950s and 1960s, but did not gain popularity until the 1980s when marketers, especially beer companies, capitalized on the celebratory nature of the day and began to promote it. It grew in popularity and evolved into a celebration of Mexican culture and heritage, first in areas with large Mexican-American populations like Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, New York, followed by Cleveland, Boston, Indianapolis, Raleigh, Dallas, San Antonio, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Miami, Orlando, Denver, Phoenix, Philadelphia, Tucson, San Francisco, San Jose, and San Diego.
Great list.
Thanks.
In a 1998 study in the Journal of American Culture, it was reported that there were more than 120 official U.S. celebrations of Cinco de Mayo in 21 different states. An update in 2006 found that the number of official Cinco de Mayo events was 150 or more, according to Jose Alamillo, a professor of ethnic studies at Washington State University in Pullman, who has studied the culture impact of Cinco de Mayo north of the border. Los Angeles Fiesta Broadway has been billed as the largest Cinco de Mayo celebration in the world, which it most certainly was at its peak in the 1990s when it attracted crowds of 500,000 or more. In recent years, attendance has seen a dramatic decrease.
I wonder why.
COVID.
On June 7th, 2005, the United States Congress issued a concurrent resolution calling on the President of the United States to issue a proclamation calling upon the people of the United States to observe Cinco de Mayo with appropriate ceremonies and activities. To celebrate, many display Cinco de Mayo banners, while school districts hold special events to educate students about its historical significance. Special events and celebrations highlight Mexican culture, especially in its music and regional dancing. Examples include Baile Folklorico and mariachi demonstrations held annually at the Plaza del Pueblo de Los Angeles near Olvera Street. Commercial interests in the United States have capitalized on the celebration, advertising Mexican products and services with an emphasis on alcoholic beverages, foods, and music. According to Nielsen, in 2013, more than $600 million worth of beer was purchased in the United States for Cinco de Mayo, more than for the Super Bowl or St. Patrick's Day.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Of beer, I would assume. Mexico. On May 9th, 1862, President Juarez declared that the anniversary of the Battle of Puebla would be a national holiday regarded as Battle of Puebla Day or Battle of Cinco de Mayo. Today, the commemoration of the battle is not observed as a national holiday in Mexico, i.e., not a statutory holiday. However, all public schools are closed nationwide in Mexico on May 5th. The day is an official holiday in the state of Puebla, where the battle took place, and also a full holiday, no work, in the neighboring state of Veracruz.
In Puebla, historical reenactments, parades, and meals take place to commemorate the battle. Parade participants dress as French and Mexican soldiers to reenact the battle. Every year, the city also hosts the Festival Internacional de Puebla, which gathers national and international artists, traditional musicians, and dancers, as well as the Festival Internacional del Mole, with an emphasis on the city's iconic Mole Poblano.
In Mexico City, military commemoration is occasionally held at the Campo Marte, a street, Avenida Cinco de Mayo, in the historic center of Mexico City, was named after the battle in 1862 by Benito Juarez.
Elsewhere, events tied to Cinco de Mayo also occur outside Mexico and the United States. As in the United States, celebrations elsewhere also emphasize Mexican cuisine, culture, and music. For example, some Canadian pubs play Mexican music and serve Mexican food and drink, and a skydiving club near Vancouver holds a Cinco de Mayo skydiving event. In the Cayman Islands, in the Caribbean, there is an annual Cinco de Mayo air guitar competition, and at Montego Bay, Jamaica, there is a Cinco de Mayo celebration. The city of Brisbane, Queensland, Australia holds an annual Mexican festival to honor the day, and celebrations are held in London and New Zealand. Other celebrations of the day can also be found in Cape Town, South Africa, Lagos, Nigeria, and in Paris. Cinco de Mayo is celebrated in Japan, in Osaka, and in Tokyo's Yoyogi Park event space as a celebration of Latin American culture.
Well, I, for one, am really happy that I learned about the battle with Napoleon and where it all came from. I'm ashamed as an American that I was just like, yeah, isn't it the Mexican Independence Day? But, you know, I am an idiot, but I'm willing to learn. That's the important thing.
That's the important thing.
You know, reflection from you at all?
My thoughts are basically that, like, why are our school districts so bad that, like, we didn't grow up really understanding this?
Get where you're going, but sorry I asked.
Yeah, I understand. This has been the Wikipedia page for Cinco de Mayo. Thanks for listening to WikiListen. You can find us at wikilisten.com and on all social media at WikiListen, except for Twitter, which is at wiki_listen.
If there's a particular page that you'd like us to read, please let us know.